Some say the most beloved organ in the rock world was crafted by Hammond, but we'd argue otherwise. The real MVP? The muscular organ inside your mouth that facilitates speaking, singing, tasting, and, of course, kissing, the essential and indispensable tongue. The tongue plays a crucial role in shaping the history of rock, from vocal delivery to stage antics, album covers, and iconic logos. Rock tastemakers have long celebrated the lingual arts. Talking heads were speaking in tongues, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs sang about a black tongue, and Bob Dylan testified that Spanish is the loving tongue. The tongue is not just a tool for articulation, it is an emblem of rebellion, sexuality, and rock and roll excess. From its use in provocative lyrics to its prominent display in performances, the tongue has become a symbol of defiance and charisma. Whether it's protruding for emphasis, wagging suggestively, or contorting to craft legendary vocal performances, the tongue is an irreplaceable part of rock history. Let's explore some of the most memorable moments where the tongue stole the show. 1. Jimi Hendrix, the guitar virtuoso's unique technique. One of the many ways Jimi Hendrix reinvented playing the electric guitar was by incorporating his tongue into his performance. The legendary musician not only played his Stratocaster behind his back and over his head, but also famously plucked the strings with his tongue, adding an element of showmanship that left audiences in awe. This was part of his larger-than-life stage persona, making him one of the most visually captivating performers of all time. Hendrix's use of his tongue was not just a gimmick, it was an extension of his deep connection with his instrument. His innovative techniques revolutionized rock guitar playing and set new standards for live performance. Thankfully, he never used his tongue at the same time he used lighter fluid, or else his explosive shows might have taken a darker turn. His influence extended far beyond his lifetime, inspiring generations of guitarists to explore unconventional playing styles. From blues-inspired bends to psychedelic feedback manipulation, Hendrix's approach was a synthesis of technical mastery and expressive freedom. His tongue-based technique became legendary, making his performances unforgettable and adding to the mythology of rock's greatest showman. 2. R.E.M's tongue, a gender-bending vocal performance. Michael Stipe, the enigmatic frontman of R.E.M, experimented with vocal delivery in the song Tongue, a track from their 1994 album Monster. Stipe stated that he aimed to sing like a girl on this track, embracing a falsetto-heavy vocal style that added a sense of vulnerability to the song. The ballad, led by a melancholic piano, is written from a female perspective, detailing the frustration and insecurity of a woman who sees herself as an unattractive last-ditch lay. The song's lyrics reflect themes of power and intimacy, with the tongue playing a symbolic role in both seduction and control. Live performances of Tongue featured a shimmering disco ball, creating an ethereal atmosphere. However, the song is also linked to a darker moment in the band's history. During a 1995 performance in Switzerland, drummer Bill Berry suffered a brain aneurysm on stage while playing this track, marking a turning point for R.E.M. The experimentation with gender perspectives and vocal delivery in Tongue showcased R.E.M's ability to push boundaries in alternative rock. It stood out as one of the more introspective tracks on Monster, revealing layers of emotional complexity often absent from mainstream rock songs of the era. 3. Dennis Rodman, basketball's rock and roll rebel. Few athletes have embodied the rock and roll spirit like Dennis Rodman. The flamboyant Chicago Bulls forward was known for his ever-changing hair color, wild antics, and in-your-face attitude. When Rodman graced the cover of Rolling Stone in 1996, photographer Albert Watson captured him with red-dyed hair, devil horns, and a tongue that seemed impossibly large. Rodman's tongue became a signature part of his public persona, whether he was celebrating a basket, trash-talking an opponent, or making headlines with his controversial lifestyle. His fearless individuality made him a rock star in the sports world, influencing a generation of athletes who saw self-expression as just as important as performance. His tongue perhaps also played a role in his bizarre diplomatic interactions with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Beyond his flamboyant image, Rodman's contributions to basketball were undeniable. A defensive powerhouse, he redefined rebounding and defensive strategy with his aggressive play style. His rock star energy was not just for show, it fueled his legendary performances, making him one of the most unforgettable figures in sports history. 4. Poison's open up and say, album art that pushed boundaries. If you thought Dennis Rodman had reached the peak of tonguosity, think again. Poison's second album, Open Up and Say, took things to another level. The original cover featured a model named Bambi, styled as a rock and roll she-demon with massive hair, tiger stripes, clawed hands, and, most notably, a ridiculously long tongue, reminiscent of a carnival sideshow attraction. The cover was considered so provocative that some retailers forced the band to release a censored version with only the eyes visible. The imagery cemented Poison's over-the-top glam metal aesthetic and contributed to their quintuple platinum success. The message was clear: rock music should be wild, untamed, and a little bit dangerous. The album itself, packed with anthemic party rock songs, became a defining moment for glam metal. Tracks like Nothing But a Good Time and Every Rose Has Its Thorn turned Poison into household names. Despite criticism for their flamboyant image, their success proved that rock and roll excess had a massive audience. 5. The Rolling Stones logo, the most iconic tongue in rock. Designed by John Pache in 1970, the Rolling Stones tongue and lips logo is one of the most recognizable symbols in music history. Originally intended as a nod to Mick Jagger's famously full lips, the design took on a life of its own, embodying the rebellious and hedonistic spirit of the band. Though many mistakenly credit Andy Warhol for the design due to its debut on Sticky Fingers, Pache's work has outlived almost every other rock logo, appearing on countless pieces of merchandise, posters, and even tattoos. The tongue and lips imagery perfectly captured the Stones' raw, provocative energy, cementing it as the ultimate rock and roll emblem. 6. Miley Cyrus, the modern-day tongue icon. Miley Cyrus has ensured that the rock and roll tongue tradition lives on in the modern era. From her provocative performances to her infamous Wrecking Ball music video, where she licks a sledgehammer, her tongue has become as much a part of her persona as her music. Cyrus claims that her tongue-sticking habit originated from discomfort with traditional smiling in photographs. Over time, it became her signature move, bridging the gap between youthful rebellion and overt sexuality. While she may have brought her own pop twist to the tongue phenomenon, her influence echoes the shock value tactics of her rock predecessors. 7. Debbie Harry punks iconic femme fatale. As the lead singer of Blondie, Debbie Harry brought a mix of punk attitude and pop sensibility to the rock world. Her striking looks, rebellious persona, and sultry vocals made her an icon, but her playful use of her tongue, both literally and lyrically, added an extra layer of rock and roll allure. Whether she was seductively licking vinyl records in photo shoots or delivering sharp, tongue-in-cheek lyrics in hits like Heart of Glass and One Way or Another, Harry's tongue became a symbol of her fearless persona. Her influence stretched beyond music, shaping the aesthetic of punk and new wave. She remains a defining figure in rock history, proving that the tongue can be just as powerful a statement for female rockers as their male counterparts. 8. Danny Brown, the tongue as an instrument of chaos. Danny Brown, one of the most unique voices in hip-hop, has made his tongue a defining aspect of his image and music. His wild, gap-toothed grin and tongue-hanging-out expression have become his signature look, reinforcing his raw, unfiltered energy. Brown frequently references his tongue in lyrics, often in the context of sex, drugs, and reckless abandon. His tongue is not just for show, it represents his unapologetic approach to life and music. His distinct vocal delivery and boundary-pushing lyrics make him a rock star in his own right, blending punk ethos with rap irreverence. Brown's tongue, like those of the rock icons before him, is a symbol of rebellion, excess, and artistic fearlessness. From Hendrix's guitar tricks to Miley's modern-day provocations, the tongue has remained a crucial element of rock and roll culture. Whether used for wild performances, provocative album covers, or unforgettable logos, It serves as a symbol of rebellion, sexuality, and raw expression. So next time you think of rock's most famous organ, remember, it's not the Hammond, it's the tongue. The impact of these iconic tongue moments extends beyond simple theatrics. They symbolize an attitude, a defiance against conformity, and a celebration of the uninhibited nature of rock and roll. Whether wielded as a performance tool, a symbol of counterculture, or a provocative statement, the tongue has left an indelible mark on music history. And as long as rock continues to push boundaries, we can be sure that tongues will keep wagging, licking, and making history.